Hi, guys. Welcome to the Cthulhu Invades Wonderland Kickstarter. You guys remember that we did this. This little book came out in 2020. It was 176 pages with tons of creators. I think it was like 17 creators, and very cool book that we put together. Very successful Kickstarter. We raised over $25,000. Very, very cool book. I'm very, very proud of it. But we are back again, and we've taken this character, Alice, who normally deals with the Queen of Hearts, all their little things. But today they're going to mess with Cthulhu. That's right. Cthulhu Invades Wonderland has been in production for over a year. We have been working very hard on getting this together, and the book is complete. We're just finishing up some letters right now and some editing, but we have some really, really cool stuff to show you, and I would love to be part of that to show you some of the cool things. We have 3 dynamic covers. Check it out. We have the direct soft market, we have our exclusive virgin, and we have a limited edition hardcover, much like the first one, hand painted. I don't know if you remember on the Oz, this is painted on the Dorothy book, so you can see it in the crevices, some of the writing of it, and Dorothy's up in the corner. Very, very cool stuff. So we've created that. We even have the box sets back. So this is the box set we had for the last one. This is the box set we have for 2. So we are doing some very, very cool stuff. But let me take a minute and show you a video of some of the very, very cool stories in this and the various art styles from some of the top indie creators. So that's it. Very, very cool video. Hopefully, as you can see, all the different art styles and all the different creators are part of. We have creators from Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Scout, Source Point, Behemoth, Red 5, all sorts of really cool creators that are in this book that have put their heart and soul into creating this one serialized story. Because if you remember, though Cthulhu Invades Oz and Cthulhu Invades Wonderland are anthologies, they are one continuous story. So this is a direct sequel from Cthulhu Invades Oz. You don't need the 2 to get one, but they are a direct sequel, and that means there's a beginning, middle, and end in your story, which is really cool. So check out the pledge levels below. Back it. Let me know if you have any questions. The next 30 days, Cthulhu Invading Oz.
All right. In 2020, Cthulhu invaded Oz, and it was a collection of stories from some of the top creators in indie comics, and they're back again this year because Cthulhu is once again invading, and he's headed to Wonderland. I have a group of some of the creators that are involved with the project, so let's go ahead and bring everybody in, and we'll find out more about them and the project. Hello, everybody.
Hey. Hello.
Thank you for taking the time to talk about it. I think this is the most people I've ever had on at one time. So,
well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll start with a question that I always like to lead with. Do you remember how you got into comics, or do you remember maybe the one that got you hooked and made you want to read more? So we'll start with CR. Tell us a little bit about yourself and answer the question.
All right. Hey, guys. I have been making comics for a couple of years now. I've been involved with a bunch of different anthology projects, including the first Cthulhu Invades story, actually with Stoney. Yeah, I absolutely love this. I have drawn all my life, and I used to write stories a little bit when I was younger, and I used to read like newspaper strips when I was a kid, and I never really got into actual comics until a bit later. Although I always loved like cartoons, X-Men, Batman, Ninja Turtles. But I was working at this movie theater in my teen years. I was like 17, I think, and my best friend over there, he gave me a copy of Watchmen, and I absolutely loved that book. And it was kind of cool because it was different than I thought comics would be, and it kind of took off from there. And I realized that there was this perfect fusion of art and storytelling in this way, and like I wanted to do it since then. So that's kind of my quick story.
Okay, we'll go next to Nathan. Tell us a little bit
everyone.
about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Nathan. I've been writing comics for a few years now, and I grew up in a literal village in Oak Harbor, called Oak Harbor in Ohio, a small village in Ohio. And so we had like 4 businesses in the entire town, but we did have a pharmacy, 80s, early 90s, with it didn't even have a spinner rack, but it had a shelf section dedicated to comics. And I remember sort of wandering through there as a little kid, and as many of us did back in the day, just picking up things that looked good and starting there. And then there's an issue of what is it, Classic X-Men, where they reprinted the old X-Men stories. I think it's number 20 with Sauron on the cover, and just I picked that up. It was my first exposure to the X-Men, and it just sort of blew me away, even though looking back it's a little bit silly, but that was definitely my entry point into comics, I think.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Matt, and good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. My apologies. I had some computer issues on my side, but I'm happy I got those worked out.
That's okay. We were just kind of doing what we did when we talked last time for Mossvale, finding a little bit about everybody's history with comic books and stuff. So, again, congratulations on Mossvale, and I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we got printer proofs back the other day. Cleaned up a few issues, and I believe they're in transit right now, so we're pretty excited.
Okay, so let's move on to Stoney.
Yeah, my name is Stoney Williams. I'm a comic book writer and sometimes colorist. I got into comic books very young. My mom works at a comic book store, and I was, all the other guys that worked there were my uncles. I had way too many uncles. But one of them was R.A. Jones, and my very first comic book was The Ferret from Malibu Comic Books, written by R.A. Jones. Between The Ferret and The Protectors, which were public domain superheroes reimagined in the early 90s, that was my first series I collected, my first comic book, my first introduction to superheroes, which kind of just sparked things from there, especially as a young kid in the late 80s, early 90s. Superheroes were the thing, and I was way too young, but I was read the Sandman comic books, and that was my first introduction to comic books as a medium rather than a genre. It made me realize that there was more to comic books than just superheroes, and it's just been comic books ever since. It was about 3 years ago I entered the talent hunt for Mad Cube Studios and started writing.
Nice. And last but not least, Don. Hi.
Hi, I'm Don Wynn. Some people know me as Winning It Online. I'm the creator of Pablo the Gorilla, which funded on Kickstarter. Has a variant cover done by two-time Eisner winner Dustin Nguyen. I'm also an Upper Deck Marvel sketch card artist. And I got into comics as a little kid because my mom would go study at the library. We used to live in this little area right outside of Seattle called Burien. And so we would go to the Burien Public Library. And she would drop me off in the kids section, and that's where I discovered comics. I read the original Detective Comics in the compendium, the original collection of Orphan Annie, and I fell in love with that. That's also where I discovered, that my favorite shows that were in syndication that they would always show back like on Sundays and Saturdays and stuff in the morning were actually started as comic books. I also discovered John Byrne doing Superman and X-Men, I remember. And that was really formative for me, as well as Walt Simonson doing Thor. And his line work blew me away as a kid. I'd never seen anything so frenetic before. And that's when I fell hard for comics. And I guess I got into comics. I tabled at my first one, I want to say 2018, Rose City Comic Con in Portland. And they haven't gotten rid of me yet. Security hasn't found me, and they haven't thrown me out.
All right. So does somebody want to kind of give an overview of what Cthulhu Invades Wonderland is about?
Sure. So Cthulhu Invades Wonderland is, like you said before, the sequel to Cthulhu Invades Oz, though it is a standalone story. You don't have to read Oz to understand Wonderland. It is over 200 pages by over 70 creators. And it is an anthology series. Each story is told by a different team of creators, but there was one narrative experience in the entire thing. We weave one story in and out of all of these smaller stories. And so the whole book is one cohesive story. It's obviously what it says, Cthulhu Invading Wonderland, and how those characters interact with Lovecraftian mythos and that kind of insane horror invading their universe.
And so how did everybody, what was your first experience with Lovecraftian and Cthulhu type, stories? We'll start with Don this time. We'll go backwards.
Well, it's funny. I actually started with Russell Nolte and Wannabe Press's Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos, his second volume. I think he's still funding his third one right now.
Yes.
We've crossed the finish line for that. And I was a part of that. And I accidentally got invited into this group because he invited me. And I thought it was just another Facebook group that was revolving around the project. And I just joined. And then I was like, oops, I kind of made it in here on accident. But thankfully, they invited me onto the project. I worked with John Crowther. First time working with him again. This time I had the pleasure of that. And that's how I got involved. And I don't know much about the Lovecraft stories. I know that the mythos runs deep, and a lot of what we consider modern horror now borrows from how Lovecraft, the Elder God mythos, and how he told the stories and the ideas. And also very fascinating that he was sort of like the first Creative Commons, right? Like he presented that world to everybody, and then his friends were able to join in and spin off their own tales using the Elder Gods. Which was, very fascinating. We see that collaborative nature with this book. With the previous book, somebody who actually came by that was a fan of the previous book to my table at Baltimore Comic Con put it best. And they basically said, the book is an acid trip of Elder Gods. And I was like, yeah, you sold your friend the book better than I did. And it's really just a fun romp. Like Stoney was saying, you get the Elder Gods just wreaking havoc across Wonderland. And can we talk about the next one already too? What's already in the works? Because I believe
it's already been announced.
Yeah, it's already been announced.
We don't know a whole lot, but the title.
Yeah. The title is Cthulhu Invades Neverland. So that will be next on the Rampage list.
I just last week talked to Russell about his third volume of Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, and waiting to see that too. So, and he's involved with this book too. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. He's definitely in this book, and he's definitely been a major proponent, I would say, of pushing the usage of Elder Gods in storytelling. And yeah, these I would say these two titles are huge in the forefront, and they've garnered a lot of fans and deservedly so. So I hope if you haven't discovered the book yet, you come on board and join us. It really is a lot of fun.
Okay, Stoney, tell us about your introduction to Cthulhu and the mythos and all that good stuff.
I wish I could. I don't remember. He's been one of those things that has just kind of been around and something my family talked about since I was very young. My mother likes to tell a story about me pretending to sacrifice our cat, standing in the middle of the living room with the cat upside down in both hands, yelling, "Cthulhu, take this kitty sacrifice." Where I got that from, I couldn't tell you. I think I was 6 or 7 years old. And so he was already entrenched in the popular culture in my house then. Yeah, he's just, like I said, been one of those characters that's just always been around and always been in the background of things. And so I see him everywhere that he's taken from, everywhere that he borrows that representation. And I've seen it since I was young. So he's just kind of always been there.
Okay. How about you, Matt? I mean, it's a Cthulhu story is, totally different from Mossvale and, all ages stories. So I'm kind of interested to see how, you were introduced to.
Sure. So I, as well as Don, was in the terrible twos of Cthulhu Invade. I'm sorry, Cthulhu is hard to spell. So that was the first time that I had done written a story in the world of Cthulhu. I did that with an artist that I had worked with before, and that was a lot of fun. We did a 4-page story. That was really one of my biggest breaks, was to be in a book that large, with so many really cool creators, and just to expand my network. So I did a story in that. But as far as like the source material, I think the only Lovecraftian story I would have read, and I think generally it's kind of considered to be the best, is in the Mountains of Madness. So I know sort of the journey, and finding something that sort of drives you mad at the end. It's a very common theme. So that's what I've worked with in the world of Lovecraft, and that's sort of the exposure I've had.
Okay. All right, Nathan.
Yeah, no, I'm more on I do not consider myself to be a Lovecraft expert in any way, sort of thing. I do have a Lovecraft reader that I know I read 20 years ago and really enjoyed, but I'm definitely not as steeped in the mythos as many other people are. But I just so I wasn't in the first book. I was not in the Cthulhu Invades Oz book. And I think really reading that is what got me interested to pitch for this thing here, because just the way that the Cthulhu mythos, as much as I recognized it, interacted with something I knew more, Oz just really inspired me to be like, well, that's a great idea, bringing two things together like that. And so I really got excited about the idea of combining what I did know with a story from I was going to say Neverland. What are we on here? Wonderland. Yeah.
Should we sacrifice it?
Yeah.
Don't even think.
Oh, so
Yeah. My mom used to warn about Cthulhu coming through our bay window in the living room, and she says, "Yeah, if he breaks my window, you're in some serious trouble."
Sorry to interrupt you, Nathan.
No. I'm going to use that on my kids from now on. The whole
There you go.
All right, CR.
Yeah, I actually I don't have much of a history with Cthulhu either. Again, just like it being in the background, I guess, or like through other media. So I've always been like aware, and I couldn't really pinpoint it either. I hadn't really delved too much into the reading of mythology, until Oz. When that came up, that's when I really got interested in it, and so most of my experience with Cthulhu is through doing these books, and I found it a ton of fun. I found it pretty cool. I tried to get my kids to listen to the audio book or whatever, and they're kind of into it. They were like, it was half-hearted interest, but anyway, so I think it's pretty cool now, and I want to check it out a little bit more. But I love kind of working in this space and seeing it come to life, and again that interaction with the other this other world is just awesome. For worlds now.
So let's go around again, and whoever wants to go first. But let's talk about the story that you're doing for, or the story, or what you're doing for this particular anthology.
So, I'm sorry.
No. Whoever wants to start.
So actually, Nathan and I are working on a story together. I'm doing the art, and he's writing. I don't know. Actually, I feel like you might be better at kind of explaining our story.
I suppose, yeah. So it's focused on this character of the Duchess that I didn't even remember from Wonderland until I reread it, when this was announced. But I was really interested in the servants and just getting some servants. I was like, okay, I know there are servants in Wonderland. Let me read through it, find some servants. And I just had this idea that, hey, these servants are so abused in the book and in like the Disney film version and such. It's like perhaps they wouldn't necessarily be opposed to some sort of invasion, even if it was a like all-encompassing evil. And so really that's where our story is focused, that like, hey, maybe some of these servants would look towards the other side and say like, hey, that's not such a bad option. Maybe I'll go over there. So that's really what ours is all about. And it's called You Just Can't Find Good Help Anymore.
Nice. All right, Matt?
Yeah, so I did a story called The Fog of War. Originally, I had designs on the caterpillar, but our editor, Chuck, got the caterpillar first. But I had the idea that the caterpillar was sort of this 1970s Bronze Age Tony Stark, weapons dealer. So I was able to take that aspect of the story and fold it into a story where the Queen of Hearts is defending sort of one of the outposts from the spiders of Len. I just found these on a Lovecraft wiki. There's these large spiders, so they're basically just sort of cannon fodder for the troops. And I did another book where everybody's killing spiders, so there must be something I have against spiders subconsciously. So there's the fight, and what the caterpillar is able to supply to the Queen of Hearts is able to turn the battle and possibly in her favor. I guess I should leave that up to a little bit of a mystery there. But yeah, it's Queen of Hearts battling spiders.
Okay. All right, Stoney?
Yeah, I did a story called Temple of Retribution with a gentleman named Ben Humanic. I took the original Walrus and Carpenter poem and matched it stanza and meter and put it inside this comic book script. It's a little bit cartoony, but it's definitely got horror elements to it. I took two stories, one from Wonderland and one from the Lovecraft mythos, and kind of slammed them together. And so people who are fans of the original material will definitely see some callbacks to certain things in some of these stories. Ben's artwork is amazing. I absolutely loved it. He does this really cool, Art Nouveau framing to some of the panels that is just absolutely gorgeous. He really captured what I had in my head, and I really loved doing it, and I loved working with Ben.
Okay. All right, Don.
Shout out to Ben. He's fantastic. I worked with John. So having the artist talk about the story might be a little funny, but we basically did a 3-page gag. And I don't want to reveal too much of it, but it involves a character Mock Turtle, which I discovered is a type of soup. I didn't even know about that. But in the story, Mock Turtle is half bovine, half terrapin, half sea turtle-ish. So yeah, I think it's a really fun 3-pager, and it helps to drive the story along.
So there's an aspect of this book that people have touched on and that I keep forgetting about because I cheated and my story doesn't involve this big aspect that everyone else's does. Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, the characters are forced to choose sides between the loyals and the mad. And because the original Walrus and Carpenter was set outside of the other Alice in Wonderland stories, so is mine. And so while they're affected by this invasion and this other universe kind of crashing into theirs, they don't have to choose sides, and they're not a part of the overall narrative quite so much. But I know everybody else kind of touched on choosing sides a little bit, and that's a big part of this book that I keep forgetting about because my story didn't.
And one thing I think that also sort of ties the common theme is that when we had a character, say like I had the Queen of Hearts, we gave character sheets within the production group so that if somebody used the Queen of Hearts in their story, sort of, some aspect of the story, there's a, artists are going to, vary in their style, but they're going to be sort of on model. So connecting the storyline, there's a bit of a visual continuity there as well.
Okay, that's cool. So, can somebody want to talk about what is available for those people who decide for people to back the project?
The Kickstarter's got some wonderful tiers. That's one of the things that Travis is known for. One of the things that I love about all of his Kickstarters. There's lower end tiers where you can get the book just digitally. You can get both Oz and Wonderland, or just Wonderland. That's one of the cool things about this anthology is that both stories come with built-in fandoms, right? And so if you love Oz, you can read Oz. And if you love Wonderland, you can read Wonderland. And if you love Cthulhu, you're going to read both, right? And as the tiers go up, you can get the physical copies of both. Travis Gibb has been unlocking digital comic book issues for free of other books as more and more backers join. I think it's every 50 he's got, I believe. And some of the free books you get, you back at the digital level, you get these free books on top of that, are amazing books. And some of them are by other people in the book. Some of them are Cthulhu adjacent. One of my favorites on the list is C is for Cthulhu, and it's themed as a children's book, which is just one of my favorite things ever. It goes up to these bigger tiers where you can get these amazing boxes of prints and stickers, physical books. We've got several different covers, 3. We've got there's a gentleman who did a painting for the first Cthulhu Invades Oz, where he actually took physical pages from The Wizard of Oz, put them on a canvas, and painted over them. So if you look, you can see some of the words in the pictures from the original book behind Cthulhu. And he did the same thing for Wonderland. And I just think it's the coolest idea. And they both came out just absolutely gorgeous. This time we've got a Orange Cone exclusive that is a virgin cover that we've been calling the Pictionary cover, because the only word is a sign in the middle that says Wonderland. It's got Cthulhu coming over it and some of the Wonderland people in the foreground. So it's literally what it says, what the title is, Cthulhu Invading Wonderland, in a picture. And you can only get that through this Kickstarter, and then after that through Travis Gibb himself, I believe. And then the retail copy, which again is gorgeous. You can still get Cthulhu Invades Oz, and I believe all 3 covers of that, one of which is a glow-in-the-dark cover. I believe the highest tier is that box that I was talking about with all the stickers and the prints and physical copies, I believe, of both books. And even the box itself is designed and modeled after Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. It is a gorgeous quality material. The box itself is awesome.
Nice. So, besides the story that you personally worked on, was there another story from the collection, if you've had a chance to look at them, that kind of stood out for you as kind of unique, or something that for people need to make sure that they check out when they get the book?
Yes, actually, it's hard for me to choose just one, because I've made so many friends that are in this book and I love them all. Everyone's art style is different, so you're going to get a different art style with every story, and that's part of the great thing about this book, and so all of them are amazing, one right after the other. David Galliano, one of my best friends, who's another talent hunt winner from Mad Cave, did split his story into two, and he does Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And he actually worked with two different local Florida artists on each of the stories, and so they have anime elements, but are also vastly different for the tone of each part of his story, and so that's exciting and really cool to see. Another friend of mine, Travis Hill, did one with a gentleman named Mark Pate that is about some of the cards, and there's one of the things Travis does really well is this brotherly camaraderie, togetherness, and really builds you up. And his relationship between the cards is one that I found very moving.
So I will say that I'm excited for Rob Malteri's story. He's doing a Kickstarter currently for Nightwolf, and that's one of the things with this Kickstarter. If you back both Rob Malteri's Nightwolf and you back Cthulhu Invades, you get a print that's sort of a mashup. But Rob does these really cool werewolf comics, and he's using the I think they're called shadow goths, the little sort of multi-eyed creatures. So there's this really visceral, story that fits him really well. Beast fighting each other and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a really good story.
That reminds me of another thing that you get with the Kickstarter. If you also back Cthulhu is hard to spell, Matt. I keep wanting to call it Cthulhu Invades hard to spell because I've been talking about Cthulhu Invades so long. Invades just comes after Cthulhu now.
Yeah.
Cthulhu is hard to spell. You get a amazing bookmark that's double-sided. One side is Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, one side is Cthulhu is hard to spell. If you back both books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cthulhu is definitely hard to spell. Every time I go to write it, I write it wrong, and I go look up. I probably have the Kickstarter tab open. I'm gonna go, oh yeah, that is how you spell it. So it definitely is hard to spell.
Absolutely. But I know Travis is really proud of that bookmark. So if I don't mention it, he's gonna kick me.
I just typed in Invades Wonderland.
Yeah, that's much easier.
Yeah. And also the fun thing about both of those campaigns is the Orange Cone and Wannabe Press really believe in the try before you buy. So there are 4 stories up, I know, for our campaign. Russell usually puts up like 80 or 90 pages of his book too, I think. He's just like giving it away. But do read it so that you know what's going on. You know that it's quality work coming out. We also have like Philip Butehorn on our book. It's a ton. I can't even think of it right now. I still have convention brain after WonderCon on this weekend. But yeah, definitely try before you buy. Come on, read 4 chapters. It's 4 of the stories to start with, and that'll get you rolling, and you'll know what to expect. And not a lot of creators do that on their campaigns. This is something that they believe in for either Cthulhu Invades Wonderland or Battle Royale, I think, is the other book from Russell. So please check out the stories. We believe in the stories. We believe in the artwork, the storytelling, the colors. For example, I did something that looks like terribly a horrible 80s dream. and I think it's weird, and I think you'll like it. But that's the type of work and effort that we put into it.
That's a great point. I mean, a lot of creators don't do that. Because I think it's something that's unique to especially these 2 campaigns, that a lot of creators can't do that because their stuff isn't done yet, and especially Orange Cone, but also Russell has their stuff almost done, if not completely done, by the time the Kickstarter is finished. So there's very little risk. The book is almost guaranteed. Yeah,
Orange Cone is usually really good about just delivering as soon as possible right after the funding drops. I've been a part of a few of their campaigns, and I can't speak highly enough about them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after Cthulhu Invades Neverland, what's the next place he should invade?
That's a little bit of conjecture. I don't know. I'd hope you go to the Wild Wild West at some point.
Well, what would you like to see?
There's been some talk of the 100-acre woods thrown around.
Oh, yeah.
Travis won't do that until Tigger is a part of that. Tigger doesn't become public domain until, I don't know, another 3 or 4 years. So he won't consider that unless you can have Tigger.
Cthulhu's invading again.
Yeah.
Is Conan the Barbarian public domain?
If it's not now, it will be soon.
Yeah, Conan. Conan versus Elder Gods would be cool.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
I'm already drawing that cover in my head.
Surely somebody's combined Cthulhu and Dracula by now, right? Because if not,
that's something else that's kind of been thrown around is the classic monster
Universal monsters.
Movie monsters. Yeah, I mean, you hate to say that Universal monsters, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I think that would be really cool too, to fun twists on those characters and mashing those two properties together for sure. I know it's been done, but I think Cthulhu and Sherlock just kind of beg to go together. Yeah, like I said, I know it's been done, but I want more of it. So
I think Cthulhu will close out his career by just invading politics, so we'll have a Cthulhu Goes to Washington series. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, why choose the Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that anybody would like to mention about the anthology that that maybe we didn't cover?
I mean,
did I mention it's 200 plus pages?
Yeah.
70 creators, more than 70 creators, from all over comic books. We got guys from Marvel and DC and Image, Source Point, from Mad Cave, Scout, just Scout. All over. Some great talent, and some people that are newer to the industry. There's a young lady by the name of Emily Rissett, who was 14 when she did the first book. She drew the Dorothy story in Oz, and now she's 16. She's doing this one, and she just keeps getting better and better. This girl's got more talent in her pinky than I've got in my body. She's doing the Dormouse, I believe, and it's just incredible. I love what she does, and I think that she's going to be running comic books soon. And for Travis to bring her in on something like this, her and her father, who did a story separately, wrote. I think it shows to Travis and how he invests in the indie community and his community there in Florida, especially.
Yeah.
To bring so many people together and established people and brand new people. It really speaks to his love of comic books and creating them.
Oh, shout out to Chuck Pinot too. He's in the book.
Yes.
So if as we wrap up here, if you guys again pick whoever wants to go first, just kind of a brief summary of what you're doing for the book and where people can find you on the socials if you're there.
I am drawing. I'm doing the art for, or did the art for. You can't find Good Help anymore, and you can find me on Instagram at c.r.florence. And yeah, I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I wrote, you just can't find Good Help anymore. Yeah, it's my primary contribution to this one. But yeah, social media, Twitter, Instagram, under my name there, Nathan Kayo at both. Just straightforward, my name is a handle.
Okay.
So I, once again, I wrote a story featuring the Queen of Hearts called The Fog of War. I am on Twitter at mcoon. Instagram is mak0876, and I also do a podcast called Constructing Comics, and you can find that on most of your pod players. So that's where you can find me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wrote Temple of Retribution with a gentleman named Ben Humanic. You can find me at Bald Bearded Bard across social media. everywhere. You can't get away from me. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have an art station where I post all my coloring. I think that's it.
Okay.
And I believe my internet handle is on the little Chiron there. I'm at Winning It. It's trademarked, so usually if it's on a social media platform, it's me or I'll be coming after that person. But just kidding. I have a few, I'm just going to call them cousins apparently out there, but love them. But I did a story with the amazing John Crowther, who a lot of people know from wrestling comics. For example, he did the Bushwhackers comic, and that was an amazing experience just to be partnered up with him on the first book and again on the second book. Our story is Mock Turtle, so please look out for it. I think it's hilarious. And yeah, I'll personally have another Kickstarter coming up on 4/9 called Battle Grapple Rebel with Michael Turner, who does Junior Braves of the Apocalypse for Oni. So please be on the lookout for that, and a ton of other stuff coming up throughout the year. So just give me a follow.
Well, if any of you guys have anything that you'd like to, discuss, then you're more than welcome to come back, and I'd be glad to help, with any promotion that I can.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us on.
Thank you. Add you to the list.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of your evenings, and again, good luck on the Kickstarter. It looks like it's, even though it's already funded, we looking forward to those stretch goals, and best of luck on this one. Best of luck on the next one, and we'll be interested to see where Cthulhu will invade after Neverland.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I forgot is we also have a Patreon tier of a comic, I think, right? I don't know if you mentioned that, Stoney. Is one of the covers is a Patreon only exclusive if you are on the Patreon Orange Cone Patreon. So
was it Patreon or Substack?
Oh, Substack. You're right. Substack.
Yeah.
I mix all of them together now, but yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Travis has a Substack for Orange Cone where he post a lot of previews. If you're on the paid subscription, you get free comic books. He lets his fans have a lot of input on what he creates and how that goes. So that's really interesting to follow. And yes, I don't remember off the top of my head what the tier includes, but there is a Substack tier, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, people should definitely give it a look, and if they're able to, support the project. And again, thank you guys for taking the time out this evening, and you're always welcome back to talk more.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good night.
All right. Good night.